Forecasters are predicting a colder than normal winter for about 1/4 of the United States this season, and maybe warmer winter temperatures for parts of Europe. But when the cold winter comes, the poor and those on fixed incomes will likely find it more costly to heat their homes this year. Americans can expect to pay about $14 billion more for their winter heating bills over last year. And Europe is already feeling the squeeze from rising oil and natural gas costs due to the Ukraine war. Well, joining us to explain what is happening, why, and what to do about it is the president of the Consumer Energy Alliance, David Holt. David, first, let's look internationally. The Ukraine war, sanctions on Russian oil, sabotage of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Now Saudi Arabia reducing oil production. Doesn't look like an affordable winter for European consumers. So how bad is it there? What other factors are contributing to higher costs in Europe?
You know, really, it's a worst case scenario. So Europe has invested a lot in renewable energy. A lot of the component parts that go into renewable energy and the critical minerals that go into renewable energy are made by China. So the renewable sector of Europe relies on China. The fossil energy, natural gas in particular, they rely on Russia. So they really are pinched right now, and there's really no relief on the horizon. As you mentioned, they're expecting a little bit of a warmer winter. So that's good news. I think you could all predict that Vladimir Putin was hoping for a colder winter that made Europe run back to Russia a little bit. But right now, we're expecting a warmer winter, which is probably the only thing they have going for them right now. But it is a bad situation. It reflects years of bad energy policy decisions, not enough redundant power, not enough reliable power, not enough low-cost power. And all of us, all the Europeans are going to get hit, but particularly those that are on fixed incomes, those that are at the poverty level, those that can least afford to pay more for energy. It's a bad situation.
Well, here on the home front, we were energy independent about 2 years ago. So let's talk about that. The main reason we'll be paying $14 billion more for energy this winter than last year. What's the reason?
You know, our energy policy in this country, like in Europe, is fundamentally broken. In 2020, we were producing about little over 13 million barrels a day of oil, and we were at that point considered kind of energy independent. Today, we're producing about 11.8 million barrels a day. So we're over 1 million barrels a day less today than we were just a few years ago. If we were serious about our energy policy, we could quickly increase that amount of oil that we're producing here at home, meet our demand, help drive down the price, not only here at home, but globally, because the United States is still the number 2 consumer of oil and natural gas in the world, behind only China now. Recently, we were number 1. But if we're producing what we need here at home, because global oil is a global commodity, we can help lower that price globally. If we have excess oil, excess natural gas, can we export that to our friends in Europe? Certainly with LNG exports, we're trying to do that now. But we need to do more of it. But like you said, we looked at the Department of Energy statistics and what they're predicting for this summer. And our analysis shows that Americans in whole can be expected to pay over $14 billion more for energy and electricity this winter than they have in previous years. That is unconscionable. It's not a situation that we should expect. And Americans should demand more. And with an election coming up, we should only vote for those candidates that are serious about energy policy, because right now, our energy policy in this country is broken.
Yeah, and people on fixed incomes are the hardest hit. Just before the midterm election, President Biden announced last week he'd release another 15 million barrels of oil from the nation's strategic petroleum reserve. So your thoughts on that? We haven't seen SPR releases like this since 1984, and I always thought it was for war emergencies, that type of thing. So what do you think?
You know, yeah, and there's a reason we haven't seen it since 1984. It's not done. It's not done for this reason particularly. This seems to be politically motivated. The White House spokesperson last week finally got a question on whether the president has been meeting with the oil and gas industry. And she said, no, the president hasn't even met with the oil and gas industry who are there, stand ready to help. The other point to make here is the United States produces the cleanest energy in the world, including oil and natural gas. And not only is this president looking at releases from the SPR, but they're going to OPEC nations, they're going to Venezuela, they're going to other nations around the world, begging them to produce more oil. and really being met with kind of a closed door. But those nations produce oil that's dirtier than that produced here in the United States. So not only are we not meeting our energy needs, we're harming the environment as well. So it's really a triple whammy here. We're getting hit by the pocketbook. We're getting hit by inflation because energy is the number one driver for inflation in this country. If you think about it, when the price of diesel goes up, the price of every commodity goes up: food, clothing, lumber, shoes, everything. So it's a bad situation. It could be fixed pretty quickly in this country. We could produce more oil energy quickly, but as yet, we're not seeing the political wherewithal to do that.
Okay, we'll see. I'm sure it'll be on the minds of voters when they go to the polls in less than 2 weeks now. Consumer Energy Alliance President David Holt. Thank you, David, for providing us with those insights. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.